The Hog Sty is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsty.com. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Hog Sty, the only Redskins podcast that rocks year-round at a high level of quality. Thanks to our sponsors at TicketClub.com. As always, Ticket Club's your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. My name's Sean Conti. Stephen Thomas, like it was very formal today, Steve. And Alex Zeese are here
Steven.
as well. And you know what I was going to...
Do you want to call me Alexander?
And Alexander Zeese, absolutely. And you know what I was going to ask you guys last week that I forgot? What's your crappy Game of Thrones names, a la Bran the Broken? I'll be Sean the Shithead.
Oh, my God, you're putting me on the spot. Lord, help me. So you're going to...
You could just be Steve the Stupid or something if you want. You can make it easy.
I mean, my nerdy LARPing name would probably be Alex of Arrows or something like that, you know?
Alex of Arrows, that's
because
too
I do
cool.
love my archery. But,
oh, God, I don't
you
know. I'm not good at making fun of myself. So you guys pick a name for me. That's not Steve the Stupid. I hate that. Pick a better one.
We'll think of one by the end of the episode. How about that? All right, cool. Well, we'll get started. We got a couple things to talk about. We are, of course, continuing our position group breakdown, so that'll be fun, but we'll save that for a little bit. To get started, Steve, what do you want to do? You want to jump right into the poll? You want to talk about some of these other little news things we got going on? What do you want to do?
No, let's start with Alex's topic. Let's start with OTAs, because that's the most fun.
all right.
We'll get to the poll.
Alex, what's on your mind? I hear you have strong passions.
Well, it's not a big rant, but, you know, OTA has been going on for, 2 weeks now. So I think they've done 6 practices altogether. And I get that it's a voluntary workout, but I'm a little annoyed about the fact that guys like Trent Williams, Adrian Peterson, and Josh Norman haven't shown up. In my mind, you guys are getting paid big money. Peterson a little less, but definitely Trent and Josh Norman are 2 of the highest paid players on this team.
Yep. And
you're supposed to be a leader. You know, you don't get paid just for play. You get paid to lead. And I'm a little fed up about these guys who don't show up for these voluntary, and I'm using air quotes because in my mind, if you're getting $10 million, nothing's voluntary.
Yeah.
I could not
workouts.
agree with you more. I mean, look, they had the last Redskins game was December 30th, I think it was. They had 3 months off. 4 months off, really and truly, 4 months off.
Yeah, it's like when you're in elementary
workouts
school.
started a month ago.
You get 10 weeks off.
So give them 3 months.
Right.
I know. Okay, the CBA says it's voluntary, but you said it exactly right. You're team leaders. You know, the team is there practicing in preparation for the season, and you are too lazy to show up. And I'm sure Trent and AP both. For those of you who don't know, Trent and AP co-own a gym in Houston, Texas, along with somebody else.
Right. So they're down there working out together. I get that.
You know, they can afford to jump on Southwest Airlines, to fly into DC for a few days for OTAs. It's not going to mess your schedule up, particularly Josh Norman. Particularly Josh.
Yeah. Well, and the weird thing about Josh Norman is he's here. Like, I saw him at an arena football game during the first week of OTAs. Yeah, because his brother was there. So he's around. So why doesn't he just show up all the time?
I think everybody. If I was a professional football player, I definitely would show up for these things, even if I was the best, especially if I was the back of the roster guy. But particularly, I mean, like you said, if you're a team leader, highly paid vet, I think the team has every right to expect you to be there. You know, I think the players about some of these things are big babies. You know, they fight for this time out.
Right. And I know the rules say that the coaches can't complain about it, basically.
Yeah.
You know, like the coaches have to say, they're not here, but it's voluntary. Like, there's little rules of what they can and can't even say about it.
People who are watching football get like 1 week off a year, if they're lucky. You know, and sometimes it's not a paid week off. You know, they work 9 to 5 or whatever every single day. and they trudge through life. These football players are so spoiled when it comes to that. They have so much free time. Yes, they're beating their bodies up, all that. I get it. But you're making millions of dollars and you have 3 months off a year. The least you could do is show up for freaking OTAs.
Right.
I'm so with you.
If you were coming off a really strong season, that'd be one thing. Then I'd be much more inclined to be like, yeah, maybe you don't have to show up to the optional workouts. If you were coming off a strong season and the team had a really solid identity, but considering that neither of those things is true, yeah, it would be effing nice if you'd show up and put in a little FaceTime, with the new guys.
It's not like this is like all weekend either.
Well,
they usually do these Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's not that stressful.
Right. It's not like you don't have new starting quarterbacks that you got to learn to play with, which is kind of important. I know it's not as maybe important for Trent Williams as a lineman as it would be for the receivers, but it still matters.
He had Eric Flowers playing left tackle this week. If Trent was there, Eric could focus on guard, but they literally have no tackle that's worthy of lining up as, even...
Well, you know what? To me, that's fine because I want to see Wes Martin at guard anyway. But
for sure, but still, Eric could be learning guard, and you are keeping him from
right. And they keep on having to bring in other tackles for these camps. Like we brought in 5 tackles already. You and I were kind of joking about that before. Like they bring them in for a day and then they fire him. Then they bring a new guy in for the next day and they fire him.
How it
right?
works is the Redskins PR office emails us press releases, okay?
Right.
And if you see that we have cut and paste like images of the roster moves, all that is a cut and paste.
Right, that's usually what we're doing.
Into screen grab from the press release, and we just cut out.
Right. We cut out all the important cell phone numbers and stuff.
So we cut that out. So I look every day, and every day it's been a new roster move tackle. It's like the guy we signed yesterday is now cut today.
Yeah, it was like, what was it, Chi-Chi something, and then they replaced him with that one guy from the Giants, and then they fired him and replaced him with another guy, and I think they've done it again already.
So why can't you guys let them stick a week out, for God's sakes?
Yeah, let them have a week so they can maybe, I don't know, go to the mall on one of the off afternoons or something, right?
Maybe see if he can play, I don't know.
Right. I mean, maybe if you bring them in for just one practice, you don't have to pay for their hotel room. I don't know.
I hope that, come in and sign with us, but pay your own costs.
Right. That's kind of what I wonder what happened. Like that, and that's got to be tough for those guys. Just the lifestyle of, hey, you're going to this camp, then that camp, then this camp, every. I get it, but that is a hard way to do it.
These guys will sign a 3-year contract. And then they last a week. It's like they signed a $1.7 million 3-year contract. They don't make a dime, and they're gone in a week.
Right. It's because there's no guarantee in the signing.
The Redskins
usually
dumped one of the guys that they gave one of the undrafted free agent rookies they signed. One of those tackles, the guy with the 2 names.
Yeah.
He got guaranteed money. He got like $15,000 or something, and they dumped him anyway. And that's chump change.
Well, and I know that doesn't really hurt. $15,000 doesn't really hurt your salary cap all that much. Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. But still, I'll take $15,000 in a day, but I'm not big enough to play tackle, I guess. So only 205 right now.
If you're listening to this, NFL players, show up for OTAs.
Yeah.
Okay, your precious time is not that valuable. You've had a ton of time off already. The least you can do is show up Tuesday through Thursday and do 3 walkthrough practices.
Here's the thing that also kind of irritates me is you'll see guys who are supposed to be like the team captains doing it in the end. And to me, if you're not there for all those workouts, I don't think you deserve that C on your jersey.
I agree with you. Of course, Trent has done, honestly,
Trent
has done a lot of things that says he shouldn't get the C. How many drug busts do you have to have before you're not a captain anymore?
A couple. Yeah.
Apparently, it's more than 2. Apparently, more than 2 suspensions.
Yeah.
It's not merit. It takes more than 2 suspensions to lose your captaincy.
Apparently. Yeah. So, you guys want to talk about Hard Knocks real quick? So maybe all this dysfunction, by the way, and the fact that nobody shows up to practices and the fact that it's a dysfunctional team is the reason they don't want to be on Hard Knocks. But this was the other topic we had discussed was whether or not, I guess, how do you want to take this? It's a good idea for the Redskins to do it. They said in 2016, as Jay wrote in his article for us, They'd never be on Hard Knocks
until they were forced to do it by the NFL.
Right.
Right. And they're in that kind of situation. It's who? Us, New York
Raiders.
Giants, Detroit.
Yeah,
in the Raiders.
Okay, so the criteria is if you have made the playoffs the year before,
right,
or you've been on the show over the past several years. I can't remember the number of years. It's some number of years. Yeah, or
I think
you've
10
had a
years.
Coach.
Right, rookie,
don't have
first time head coach.
And so they're down to 5 teams. As of Friday night, the HBO had not picked the team. So.
Right, we'd heard there were murmurs this week that it was going to be announced.
We heard from a source that
then it became unannounced.
They haven't decided anything, so we'll see when it comes out. Our colleague Jay Evans wrote a long piece about it. His position was he welcomed Hard Knocks. I think I'd watch it. Don't get me wrong; it'd be fascinating to watch the show and everything because it's the Redskins. But it's one of these things that just something awful is going to happen. It's going to go badly somehow because it's the Redskins.
Sure.
That's my fear.
Well, I mean, there was that year that we did Hard Knocks by default when the Texans came, and that was interesting because there was the big fight that everyone made a huge deal about. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, they fought!" And then the team actually got better because of it. So, maybe more fighting on the sidelines. I don't know.
Nothing goes smoothly, and so we're gonna, HBO cameras there means there's going to be more chaos than normal. I just have no faith that it's going to go smoothly. That's all.
Right, but there was that great moment this week in the press conference where they asked Jay Gruden about it,
great.
And he's like, no, go do my brother.
Well, his last quote was, he said, they can come next year, and some reporter who was unnamed said, well, not if you make the playoffs, they can't come.
No, it was J.P. Finley said that.
You make the playoffs, they can't come next year. And he went, well, if I don't make the playoffs, I'm not going to be here anyway, so they can come all they want.
Yeah. I like that answer. That's real. That's a real answer right there.
Yeah. Jay's in that great spot where at the beginning of the season, remember, beginning of every year, you get happy-go-lucky, snarky Jay in all these press conferences where he's just making jokes and doesn't really care. And then, by week 15, when half the roster's on IR, Jay will just seem like somebody punches him in the gut before every press conference.
Yeah.
Right. He's a beaten man every year. I don't know what he's doing in those few weeks he has off.
He's losing.
But
that's what. That's what happens.
Well, no. I'm talking after the season to
listen, it's a new
OTAs.
Day. He's recovered from, the reality of the Redskins hasn't set in yet. They still have hope. By the time you get to week 10 or what, hope is gone. 52 people are on IR. They're starting guys off the street.
Right.
Who've, barely played football. And then Jay is just like a beaten down, awful. It's a really good point.
He looks like he's not been able to get any sleep because he probably hasn't.
I never really thought about that before. That's true. All the good stuff comes at the beginning of the year. By the end of the year, he's just like.
Yeah, it'll be OTAs through training camp. Maybe if we do well in the first 2 or 3 games, he's still happy.
It looks like he wants to jump off the Wilson Bridge.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and I think that a lot of coaches we've seen that here. That I think that's why Spurrier up and quit his second season.
Well, I think Jim Zorn was the worst of those because remember they brought in the play caller for the bingo caller to call plays and.
Oh yeah, Sherman.
And by the end of Jim's term, he looked like he was something other than human.
Well, Jim Zorn was also a little off from the get-go.
He was a lot off.
So, well, a lot off. And we should say XFL head coach Jim Zorn now, since he's now he's coaching the Seattle team. Yeah.
This is just a high burnout team to be a coach on. You've got intense pressure from ownership. And you've got intense pressure from the media. I mean, do you remember way back when that reporter asked Jay 3 times in a row if he was going to start RG3, and his eyes went real wide? I was like, you can pinpoint the moment that his soul died, and he realized this was a terrible place to work. I don't think it's ever gotten better beyond that.
I'm amazed he's actually survived as long as he has.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I don't think the media glare here is as intense as in New York, necessarily, or maybe Philly. But there's a long history here that just brings people down. It's the Dan Snyder effect. just has brought the entire fan base down. Expectations are that something awful is going to happen, and every year it does. And so I think you're right, Sean, and I think it's just born out of it's not so much the media being awful, it's just everything. It's just Redskins.
Yeah, it's a whole combination. This is a crappy ecosystem here in Washington.
It is.
DC, the whole thing.
But I would say that in some ways we are worse than New York. Not Philly. Philly's a different animal, but we're worse than New York in that the Redskins are still the top team here, whereas in New York you have 8 professional sports teams. And it's baseball first. The Yankees and Mets are always going to come in higher up in New York since that's the
really
baseball.
The Mets. It's going to be the Knicks.
Well,
the
mostly the Yankees, but when you think, I don't think the Knicks
are a massive part of New York culture. The Knicks in particular.
They are, but they've also been losing longer than
Smith
anybody.
Was ready to hang himself after the NBA draft lottery a couple weeks ago. It made for a great quality video, though.
Yeah. He's become a cartoon,
Smith.
right?
He doesn't know anything about football, but I love listening to him about basketball, actually.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. He knows basketball. But
no, Sean, I think you're right. I mean, it's just something about the Redskins franchise. It's a weird vibe, and it's born out of so much losing and so many awful, strange things that happen. They've shot themselves in the foot, hypothetically speaking, many times. It's going to take.
They don't have a foot left to
shoot.
They
have no more toes at all. It's going to take winning.
Right.
Somebody's going to have to come in here and win. And if you do that, then things can change. Look, people forget. If you go back to the 80s with the Saints, people were literally wearing bags over their head at the games.
They started that whole thing, didn't they?
I mean, that's the first time I remember it, at least. And the Saints culture has changed. And ownership changed. And let's not pretend that Lloyd Benson, I keep saying Lloyd, Tom Benson has had a mess and a wreck himself, but somehow they established a win. They got a good coach and a good quarterback. And boom, winning culture.
Yep.
So that could happen in D.C. It just hasn't, in part because our ownership has just been so on management. It's been so terrible. They just don't know what they're doing at all. And so you keep waiting for the Redskins to strike gold in the draft. Like maybe they have with Haskins, we'll see. But they've just it's been like RG3 could have been gold and it's ruined. And part of the reason it was ruined is that ownership allowed RG3 to get too big for his britches.
Get ruined. Yeah.
If somebody had put him in his place early and said, "You're not gonna, you're not coming to my office. You're a player. You need to go talk to Mike Shanahan. Get out." That's what should have happened.
Right.
And that would have checked a lot of the ego stuff. Don't let his father run around and all that stuff. I mean, the ownership and management is partly responsible for that kind of thing. They could have checked RG3, and instead they enabled him. And so they've hurt the process by stuff like that.
Yeah, well, and I think it'll keep repeating itself at some point. I worry because Haskins apparently does have ties to Dan Snyder.
He does.
Through playing at the school he played at the same high school his kids went to. Or his son is playing there now, and I guess Haskins is the same age as Snyder's daughter or something like that. Yeah, in Potomac. So he's already got those ties.
Yeah.
Well, he's from New Jersey. He went to high school in Maryland. Yeah.
Can I say one other thing about the media here, actually, before we move on to the next
topic? You're talking
about
us, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, right. I feel actually, to that point, I feel like the Redskins have great independent podcasts and blogs, and they've always had pretty good coverage from independent people. But I do think, in terms of the mainstream sources, there's kind of a snark attached to the way this team is covered. And part of it, I think, is like the name change. You have like Mike Wise getting on the Washington Post and being like, "I'll never follow the team until they change their name." And like, there's just kind of a holier than thou kind of attitude from mainstream media people about the Redskins, even though we are a football town and this is like the main team here. Sometimes when I read New York like blogs or whatever about the Giants, it's like they're critical, but there's like a more like Homer feel to it to an extent. It's like somewhat more supportive, whereas the Redskins, it's just like everybody gets their kicks essing all over the team. That's what it kind of feels like sometimes.
I think that some of that stems from the adversarial nature of the Redskins front office and PR staff
that's a great point.
with day-to-day reporters. I mean, did you guys listen to Rick's last show where he talked about dealing with Jack Kent Cook and how Jack would call Rick at home all the time to like make fun of him?
I was
basically
talking about the Seasons of Discontent podcast, which is Rick Snyder. Please listen to it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, and especially really that last episode was great. If you love good Redskins history stories, he's got the first 25 minutes are all just him telling stories about dealing with Jack Kent Cook.
Yeah, I don't think Dan
like
Snyder's
one-on-one
calling up any reporter and joking about anything.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want to spoil it too much, but he was getting calls about punctuation and things like that. Yeah. So he was getting calls about what the Oxford comma from like, Jack Kent Cook. That's what the kind of guy that we used to have owning it. And I think guys like Rick and John Keim, who've been here forever, they're just worn thin by this front office, and they had to deal with. Tony's been good to like. You know, Tony's been good to us. When you see him interacting with reporters, he's really personable. But from what I've heard, the guys who've been there before him have just been nightmares at times.
The fans don't like Tony Wiley, but I think we as a site can stand up for Tony. We've seen him. Tony has a really good relationship with the reporters. He has been good to us. The Redskins don't need to let us do anything. We're nobodies, and they do.
And they do, which has always been nice. And you know, like I tend to stay out of his way, but Jamal, who you know actually is able to be social with people, unlike me, Jamal talks to him when he's there and says he's a good guy.
But you know, all the same, I think I mean, we have to be fair and honest here, right? Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen are a huge part of this problem. You know, I think Dan, in all fairness, has done a poor job. I think he's a poor leader. I'm not sure he really knows. He certainly didn't in the beginning how to build a team and run a business. You know, and there's a reason why. You know, he's never done it before. The business he had before was a small, you know, telemarketing company that blew up. Basically, he wasn't leading 100 people. You know, and he did a poor job of it in the beginning. And now he's got the ultimate enabler in Bruce Allen with him. The two of those guys,
and he had one before with Vinny.
Those guys just have not done a good job at establishing a positive culture. You know, and the media, we started this site because of Jason Reed. You know, because I think the big guys we have now, like Finley, who we don't know at all. You know, Tandler before him. You know, rest in peace. You know, Keim, who we know a little bit. Or Jamal knows them at least. Those guys are all really good. Yeah. But we've had some stinkers.
They're good at their job.
They never break anything. It's always Schefter and Rappaport that break the Redskins stories.
Well, especially now. I mean, but if you go back in the day to, let's say, 10 years ago when we all just were casual bloggers on the Redskins Insider, Jason LaCanfora, as much as he was snarky and, you know, probably adversarial with the team, he broke things right and left. And and a lot of our fans probably don't like to hear this. Jason LaCanfora was right about almost everything. He was right about Vinny being a joke, and you might not like that he called the league office about that one thing, but Vinny was a joke. So deal with that.
It's better to have the truth.
And
I'll take it
look, the bottom line is
and Jason Reed, you know, as bad as he was on the radio, and that's why we kind of, like you alluded to, that's why we actually started our little podcast and blog, just to kind of make a joke out of that. But
his partner blogged us. And
he also broke stories.
That guy he worked with.
But he also broke stories. You know, those guys who've been snarky beat reporters have actually been pretty good.
I mean, look, winning cures it all. Okay. If the Redskins just start to become a consistent contender, all of this will go away. You know, all of this talk about the chaos in the front office and blah, 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 all of that will go away. Like, we just talked, I just did IJB. It's just business before this. We talked about the chaos in the Lakers front office, you know, as a story. Well, that matters because the Lakers aren't winning. When the Lakers won 10 championships, none of that mattered. It didn't matter that Jack Kent Cooke had his sons and, a bunch of boobs, working for him. None of that. This stuff that we're talking about here will become secondary if Dwayne Haskins becomes a franchise quarterback, Darius Guice becomes an all-pro running back, and, Terry McLaurin is a, Pro Bowl receiver. If all that happens, nobody will care about any of this. We care about this because there's nothing else to care about. Suck on that, Redskins.
At the same time, you and I both know deep down that with these guys in charge, the odds are always going to be stacked against you for anything working out.
I'm just saying, if lightning strikes and Haskins is good enough, that good, and
in spite of everything, him,
yes, which is entirely possible,
right?
And it works out, and they become a consistent winner, then yes. One of the, you want to transition, Sean? It's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to do polls and Gruden?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I bring that up because one of the ways you could arguably not ruin Dwayne Haskins is maybe to let him keep Jay Gruden as his coach. So, the poll question this week is this. Jay Gruden's contract runs through 2020, meaning the Redskins will probably make a decision on him next offseason. What do you think Jay needs to do to earn a contract extension? Your choices are, A, he needs to make a deep playoff run. B, he needs to just make the playoffs. C, he needs to show progress from 2018. And D, he can't do anything. He's going to be fired. Those are options. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
You want to go, Alex, or you want me to go?
Sean, do you want to go first?
I'll go.
All right.
I think probably he needs to make – I think personally he needs to make a deep playoff run. I think maybe most people – I'm split between it's either that or just appear in the playoffs is probably what people said. But, yeah, he's got to show something tangible now. If this team shows progress but it doesn't amount to anything, I don't think that's going to be enough. So I'm going to say he needs to make a deep playoff run and assume people either said that or just appear.
Okay. Alex?
I'm going to get – all right, so I have three answers. I'm going to say that the public said deep playoff run because I think the public side, they're going to be very hot or very cold on this one, not, tempered like last week. I would personally say to me, the real answer is none of them, but the best one is it needs to show improvement. But for me, it's really you need to show that you are the right coach for Haskins. And because nothing matters more than quarterback head coach chemistry if you have a head coach like this where it's an offensive minded guy. But I'm gonna say that for the ownership, and they're who really matter, it's got to be playoffs or bust.
I voted 54%. The public voted for just make the playoffs. So
okay.
Sean's streak
54?
of getting him wrong continues.
Yes, all my dreams.
Second,
you said 54%.
54%. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It was a lot. So the second place was just show progress from 2018. 30% of you voted for that. 12% voted for make a deep playoff run. And yes, I could have gotten more specific people who didn't like the choice. Twitter limits you on these polls to a certain number of characters per choice.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to, do that. A mere 4% of you said he can't do anything, he's going to be fired. So at least the really, truly cynical on this were only 4%.
So how it feels like when we're on Twitter, there's just a huge anti-Jay Gruden contingent out there, right? That's 4%.
It's just
really,
the vocal 4%.
Of the people.
These polls, it's not a scientific poll or anything, but we've done enough polls.
But it does tell you things like that.
We've done enough of these polls to show that the public isn't as cynical as the vocal minority, which isn't exactly a newsflash either, by the way.
No.
Okay, so we did have a bunch of comments.
Twitter is awful, full
Twitter's
of evil people, is what we're saying.
I wish we didn't have to be on it. Twitter's the worst.
Yeah.
That racist tried to write us back, by the way, and I've ignored him. Yeah, I've ignored
him. Don't care.
Okay, so we're going to go with Mrs. Jon Snow, who is...
watch out, he'll stab you.
At Next Level 726. She writes, I don't believe Jay has it in him to lead the team to the playoffs. We need a Bill Cowher type of coach and an owner who will stay out of the way and sign payroll checks. That's her opinion, and again, we read it because we like female opinions on the show.
Thanks for writing in.
Right.
Okay, so Dave, who is a frequent commenter, sometimes I don't read his comments, but
hey, Dave.
I have to read him every once in a while because he's been so loyal. He writes, Dave is at WSK28 Rules. He writes, although I voted to make the playoffs, I do see another scenario where he keeps his job while not making the playoffs. If he starts the year with Case and goes 1-5 or 2-6, but are still in games, then finishes strong with Haskins as a starter, looking the part as a franchise quarterback, he stays. And that's kind of like the show progress answer. That's a long way of saying he needs to show progress.
And that's kind of my thinking too. What really matters is you have to show me that you finally have an offense that fits you, because the last year we didn't see that with Gruden. And that's not all his fault, but
we got Alex is Scott Campbell, one of our people. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That would be Scamp,
he wrote in
who
and he says,
we have on our blog all the time.
I need a playoff win, so I chose deep playoff run, even though they aren't exactly the same. So he's one of those 12%.
All right.
I'm with Scamp on that one.
Yeah, it's certainly a reasonable position. We'll go with Big B, who is at Big B _72. He says if he shows progress with a somewhat healthy roster, we know he can lead a team to more wins. If he doesn't, well then, bye. So I mean that's a flavor of the comments. I appreciate everybody. For me, if I had voted, which I didn't, I mean, I think the right answer is show progress, but I think the real answer is he needs to make the playoffs. I guess that's how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the progress, though, is that's so like people quantify that totally different ways. You know what I mean? Like, say Haskins is amazing and lights up, the league or whatever, and he's like extending plays, and it's not necessarily by design, I guess is what I'm saying. That's not enough for me. Like, it's just we've seen progress season over season before that hasn't amounted to much. Because, right when they get to the playoffs and they play the really good teams, that's when it falls apart. I want to see them beat the really good teams in the crunch time.
Keep waiting. Our colleague Eric Hill wrote a piece this week. It was published last Thursday. He argues that Jay deserves an extension. And first of all, we had some people write in and say, Eric doesn't know that Jay already has an extension and blah, blah, blah. I'd like to educate the dummies out there because I love doing this, educating dummies. Jay's extension starts in 2019. It was a 2-year extension through 2020. No NFL team, almost no NFL team, lets a coach play out a lame duck year, okay? So the odds are after this season, they're either going to extend Jay again or fire him. That was the reason why Eric wrote what he wrote.
That's almost ubiquitous throughout sports. Maybe, except for maybe hockey, where I think you fire a coach every 5 months. Like most NFL teams, most NBA teams, MLB teams, a coach always gets an extension before their last year.
That's why it's relevant.
Or they get fired.
Eric's argument was that they should definitely extend him, and his number one reason was Dwayne Haskins, which I understand. It makes sense.
And it's a completely sound, logical argument.
Why would you want to bring Haskins in, have him for his rookie year learn one system under Jay Gruden, and then fire him and make him learn a whole new offensive system again? That's how you ruin quarterbacks. Quarterbacks who are successful have stability. Right. Think about all the quarterbacks who did not have stability, and it ruined their careers. And so I think he's got a really legitimate argument there. I do. I think Eric did a good job of.
He absolutely does. Heck, just look at Josh Rosen. Do you want Dwayne Haskins to have a situation like that where we bring in a new head coach who's like, no, I'm going to run my offense. I don't want Haskins. And we're stuck drafting another quarterback just because?
Not only that. Listen. Jay's a pretty good schemer. Josh Rosen's coaches were terrible. That's not the case with Jay. You can argue all you want about can Jay lead the team to the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. But what you cannot argue is that Jay's schemes are good.
Right. He that he knows how to get a quarterback comfortable in this league.
He turned.
Kirk Cousins. We've seen that now.
Jay's made some power moves since he's been here. He benched a guy that the Redskins spent 4 draft picks on, and went and made his replacement into a 4,000-yard passer. It blew up, and a fireball, of course, at the end. But Jay can coach quarterbacks.
Well, and a lot of people credit Sean McVay with that too, but I think you got to give some of the credit to Gruden as well. Yeah, and Gruden was also the one who said, "All right, Sean, you can work with this and let Sean McVay take over play calling." I think there's no question that Gruden can coach, and the fact that he still has a locker room after the last couple of years is kind of a testament to that too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Jay Gruden fan, but I mean, he's faced a lot of adversity since he's been here.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's had talent droughts. I mean, especially like in the receiving core. It seems like recently when he had really good receivers, things went better than when he doesn't, because that's the thing about Jay to me is he doesn't have a plan B. If it stops, it's not going well in the course of a game, he doesn't really course correct very well.
Yeah.
And find a way to make it happen. That's the real problem with Jay. I think you're right. In certain situations, in certain capacities, great quarterback or great coach to nurture a quarterback. But at the same time, you're also going to see 3 failed goal line runs dialed up in a row, and all he's still got scheming problems. So I don't know. I go back and forth on that. How good he really is.
I just don't think anyone would have had a plan B by the end of last year.
That could be true.
All the injuries and everything. But I think Sean's right in saying sometimes this play calling gets predictable.
Sure.
You can. It's kind of like clockwork. Sometimes, especially when he's already beaten down towards the end of the year when everybody's injured. You can call these plays. We could call these plays, and we don't know anything.
Right. It's sweep right run out of shotgun. It's dump off pass, and then it's punt.
If Jay could ever have a complete team around him, I'd love to see what he could do. I'll say it that way. I'm not like.
I mean, we've. It's been years, but we saw it with the whole Garcon, D-Jax, that
game, to go with it, and they didn't have a defense.
But I mean, that was a great offense that we.
Yeah,
he's capable.
I'm not like Rick Rodgers level of, optimism about it, but I do think if we could get just 1 year when there's some talent and they're healthy, I'd love to see what happens. I'll say it like that.
Yeah, or those 3 or 4 guys that we know who just, no matter what Jay Gruden does, it must be the wrong thing because he did it.
Right.
Well, that's not rational. That's not rational. That's not rational.
No,
I mean, Pete,
I know.
You can't blame Jay for everything.
They can.
You can.
They try.
All right, awesome. Any other thoughts about Jay or the poll or contract extension in general, or should we move on to our positions?
I mean, last thing on contract extension, I don't know. I would probably do it because I agree with Jay Evans' logic there. I don't know about you guys.
I would wait till the end of the year and see how it goes. My inclination is that he deserves to stay for that reason, for the reason stated. But I wouldn't do it now. Just if it really goes wrong and he loses the locker room and it goes terribly, Now I'll say this though. In years past, we've had a light schedule up front and a tough schedule at the end. This year, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
This year, the tough part really is at the beginning of the year. And we haven't done our game-by-game thing. We'll get to that at some point before the season. But generally speaking, I think the team has an opportunity to improve as the season goes on, which is not the case before. And if that happens, there could be some momentum heading into the offseason, even if they don't make the playoffs. And that would be good, as opposed to like things falling apart and it becomes hell on earth, by week 16, like it's been. It could be different this year.
Yeah. That's a good point.
All right, let's do it then. Let's talk some safeties, guys.
Safeties.
That is the continuation of our position group breakdowns. This one should be interesting, we'll say. Should we start with our perhaps one of the more exciting offseason acquisitions we had? Should we start there?
JoJo McIntosh.
Yeah.
No, that's of course what I was talking about. You read my mind.
Hey, JoJo can get back to the back of this discussion.
Old school classic rock reference here.
Yes, there you go. No, I think Sean was talking about our this generation's possible Adam Archuleta, or no, it's Landon Collins.
Come on, I mean.
Well, I'm just saying, highest paid safety in the league now, and he's an in-the-box strong safety type.
He's a 3-time Pro Bowler and 1-time, All-Pro. So
right, and Adam Archuleta was none of those things.
Okay,
so.
I mean, any discussion of Landon Collins needs to start with his contract. Yes, it's true that his cap hit in 2019 is $4 million. However, his cap hit goes dramatically up from there and gets a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
2020, $14.2 million. It has a dead cap of $33 million, meaning he's not cuttable at all. Even under a spreading theory, he's still not cuttable.
Right.
2021, $17.2 million. Cap hit of $18.8 million, meaning they could cut him if they spread it out for 2 years, but you're still losing almost $19 million of space. So he's got and he's signed through 2024, and the cap hit doesn't get any better, really. So they're paying a lot of money for this guy. This dude better produce,
I mean, you're paying him to basically be the keystone of this whole defense for the next 5 years. He's going to be that dominant middle of the field presence.
They're expecting him to be.
And yeah, so you got to pay him for it.
Let's talk numbers. He has played in 59 games in his career. Started 59 games. He has 8 total interceptions. The high watermark of his career thus far has been 2016. That was his Pro Bowl or his All-Pro year. 5 interceptions that year, 125 tackles that year. It's gone down. Maybe this is why the Giants cut him, or not cut him, but didn't re-sign him. His production has waned every year since then. And he got hurt last year, hurt his shoulder. No interceptions last year, only 96 tackles. The Giants have all sorts of problems, so I don't know if you can blame all that on Landon Collins.
Only 96, but that's a ridiculous number, really, for a safety, too.
He's as he's an in-the-box safety, so he's not going to be a free safety. He's going to be our strong safety. But, yeah, I think you're right. I think the Redskins are expecting this dude to perform at a Pro Bowl level. It doesn't work if he does not perform at a Pro Bowl level. If it doesn't happen, you're going to be hearing what we hear about Josh Norman now. You're going to hear that about him 2 years from now.
And to that point, I think there's one key to making Landon Collins make sense, and that is you can't do with him what you did with Josh Norman. And that's with Josh Norman, they brought him in. He liked playing zone. He would play one side of the field in a 3-deep zone, and we wanted him to start playing more man. And it didn't work as well. Norman's been okay, but not great. We talked about that a few weeks ago. You have to use Collins to his strengths. Don't bring him in here to be a strong safety and then say, "Oh, our safeties are interchangeable," like we always seem to want to do. I don't want to see him dropping back deep a whole bunch. I want to see him middle of the field, kind of looking out for the run, covering the slot, that kind of stuff.
The Redskins don't play a lot of Tampa 2, where the safeties split the field.
No.
They play a lot of in-box safety. He's not – he ran a 4.5 40, 35-inch vertical, 120-inch broad jump. I mean, he's athletic, but he's not free safety range level athletic. That's not his strength. You're not playing to his strength. He doesn't –
But you know what I'm saying when I say they love to
I totally agree
swap.
I think you're right.
Oh, yeah, this guy's
You need to let Landon Collins be Landon Collins. Play to this guy's strength.
Right.
Let him be an in-the-box safety. Find another free safety, for God's sakes. You didn't draft one.
Build. If this guy's the key, build around him. Like you said, find a free safety who fits what he does at strong safety. Find corners that make sense for what he does. That's what they need to start doing now that they've paid this guy.
Trivia question about Landon Collins. Do either of you know what NFL player Landon Collins played high school football with?
Played with.
High school? Ooh, I do not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a broad question. No. Sean, do you have any idea?
I mean, is this somebody on the Redskins?
No, it's not.
Or is this anybody league-wide?
Okay.
I have no idea.
He played high school football in Louisiana with Eric Reed. Yeah.
Oh.
Fellow DB.
Okay.
So, trivia question.
Yeah. That must have been a good high school secondary.
Really, I mean, you got Eric Reed and Landon Collins back there. Yeah, it must have been a heck of a.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sadly, everyone just ran the option on them all day.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I would love to get inside of Dave Gettleman's head, the GM of the Giants, and find out why they let him walk. I think it was probably a combination of Dave Gettleman's just dumb, and
right.
1, and 2, they didn't want to pay a huge contract for a player whose performance was declining. at least statistically, on paper at least. I'm not saying that's what he is. I'm saying that's what the numbers show. And third, Dave Gettleman's just dumb. You know?
Well, I think if you were inside his head, you'd hear a lot of circus music played on slide whistles and kazoos and stuff like that.
That's probably true.
Yeah. I don't understand what the Giants have been doing the last few years, frankly.
So look, I mean, we can talk about this forever. There's other places to get to. The bottom line is that, at least from my opinion, I think you guys agree with me. The key to Landon Collins is for the Redskins to put him in a position to succeed. Yeah, that is by keeping him as the in-the-box strong safety. Find somebody else when all the injuries happen, because they always do. Don't put Landon Collins back at free safety. Find somebody else to do that.
Right.
Let Landon Collins do his thing, and it will go better if you do.
And I think that, and we have a good defensive line. Yeah. Let them handle the big guys up front and clear space for Collins to make his plays, because that's going to be his strength. Absolutely. You know, he as a strong safety, you almost got to look at him like a faster linebacker. Yeah,
listen, I mean, in 2016, Collins had 4 sacks. You know, hint, hint.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I have heard that the Redskins are bringing a lot of safety blitzes now in their training camps.
That's a good thing. Okay, so that's Landon Collins. Unless anybody else has any other words about him.
Nope.
Monte Nicholson, probable starter.
Hey.
Probably pencil starter.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Right?
Yeah,
not pen.
He's probably penciled in right now as the free safety starter. Landon Collins' criminal issue has been dropped. That does.
You mean Monte's?
Yeah, Monte's. Yeah.
You said Landon. You said Landon.
Landon doesn't have any criminal issues that we know about. Monte's criminal issue was dropped. That does not mean he's not going to get punished by the NFL, but if he does, it'd probably be minor. And so, realistically, he's going to be available to play. I think this is your free safety, mainly out of the lack of other candidates. You know, he's running in the 4.4 range, so he's got more range. You know, he does have. I mean, of this group, I don't think he's a great option, but I think he's probably the better option of all these other guys.
I mean, what we saw from him the last 2 years before, for some reason, they benched him for Clinton Dix. Just because I think Bruce Allen's like, I can get this guy from Alabama, and I'm going to get him. But I think he played fairly well in his starts in the last few years.
Free safety.
You know, yeah. And I mean, he started at free safety. He played. You know, he wasn't making big plays, but he didn't blow assignments, and that I think is the biggest thing you can say about him is he knew where he needed to be on the field most of the time. Yeah, guys made catches, but he would tackle them. Yeah, he would break up a pass here and there. He wasn't making a lot of turnovers. I don't think even – did he ever have an interception? Do you have his numbers?
Not last year.
He has had one interception in his career, and that was in 2017.
Okay. So, yeah, he's not going to be a big turnover guy, but in terms of that classic stop the, big play kind of type stuff, he's fine at that. You know, you can't really complain too much about his play altogether.
No. So, but did he lose time last year because of the legal problem? I forget.
Yes.
I see he started in 14, so it was because of the. Yeah. It was because of the. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. So other than that, I mean, he's at least staying on the field. He's not getting hurt. He's making it to the game.
Well, it was that and them bringing in Clinton Dix for whatever reason they decided to do that.
They made Monte inactive. Not inactive. He was on
and that happened.
Simplest, rather.
I don't remember if that
right.
was.
He wasn't on the commission simplest. He was on the NFI list. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Right. Did the team make him, or did he have the fight before or after the whole Hong Kong Clinton Dix thing? I thought it was after, right?
He got arrested in December, so it was pretty late.
Clinton Dix came on before Monte got arrested.
Okay. I wonder if maybe the fact that he lost his starting job had anything to do with him being out drinking at 2 in the morning.
These are football players. They do it a lot. I don't think so.
I know.
Look, Monte Nicholson, I don't necessarily think he's the ideal free safety maybe, but he's certainly, I think, the best we have. He's got better range for it. He's got size. He's 6'2", about 215 pounds. I think he should be penciled in as a starter.
lengthy looking dude too.
I mean, I think for me, free safeties, size and range. That's I think what you want. And he's at least got both of those. So, has he proven to be a bit of a knucklehead? Yes, but he's also our knucklehead, and he's the best we have.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all agree he's the number 2 guy in terms of general quality behind Collins. But where do you put him, just taking him out of the context of the team, on the scale of you should be on the practice squad to you're obviously an entrenched starter and you're amazing? Where do you really put him on that scale?
You know what he is? He's a free safety version of Reed Doughty.
Yeah. Nice.
Remember how we had Reed Doughty who never was supposed to be a starter, but he started 100 games in his career? That's what Monte Nicholson looks like to me.
That's a fair.
He won't be spectacular, but he can get it done.
To me.
So you're putting him
so
basically
was
right
Reed.
in the middle of that scale, Steve. You're like, he's right there. Yeah.
I mean, he's on, from a contract standpoint, he's in the middle of his rookie deal, so he's cheap for the next couple of years. He was only a 4th-round pick, so he's not costing a lot of money. If he develops into a solid starter, they can re-sign him. And if they don't, they're probably going to let him go, So we'll see.
Without too much emotion invested in it, because he's, like you said, he's been pretty average.
Yeah, and frankly, if the Redskins are proving anything, it's the front office doesn't care what you do at all, as long as you produce. From Nicholson to Reuben Foster to the whole cheerleader debacle, the Redskins are woefully inadequate when it comes to morality in these things. And so I don't think they care whatsoever that Monte beat some dude down in the middle of the street in Ashburn Square or whatever. No,
they don't care. And even even if you do good stuff on the field, sometimes they just don't like you. We've seen that too.
So that's Monte Nicholson. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I think the next guy up most certainly is DeSager Everett.
Yeah, one of my all-time faves on the roster right now. Just for that special teams he hit. He had 3 years ago against the Eagles, where he just knocked the guy out.
Special teams, I must say.
I love that kind of play too. I love good hard hits in football, and they don't exist much anymore.
That's not a problem, but I think his fate is to be Landon Collins' backup, because I don't think he's really much of a free safety. I don't think you want that. He doesn't. I know he's played it a little bit. I mean, he came in here originally as a corner, remember, and they converted him to safety.
Yeah.
I don't think he really has the range to be a free safety. His 40 time is 4.56. That's just not. He's not fast enough to be able to cover the whole field like that, I don't think. So I think his destiny is probably Landon Collins' backup. And if injury comes in, or happens rather, he comes in as a spot starter. I think that's DeShager's fate.
I mean, he you can make fun of it, but he is the special teams leader, and I think that's why he got re-signed. Even right, he's not on a rookie contract anymore. He's on a
so Everett is signed
second contract level.
It was a 2-year contract extension. So it was a $2.6 million total value deal. It did have $250,000 guaranteed, so he's got a little bit of dead money. His cap hit this year is
it's a small contract that he's on though,
and $1.475 million cap hit this year.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair amount of money to pay for a backup safety. That's not too bad.
Him. They like him. They re-signed him. I'm just saying now with Landon Collins here, he's not going to be a starter.
Oh no. And I agree with you. I think he is more of a free or a strong safety than a free safety. I don't think he's like Collins in that I wouldn't want him to be the primary run stopper type. I think he's probably more of a coverage strong safety than a run stuffing in the box guy. And you say his speed isn't great, but I think he has good football speed. Is what he has. When it comes to pursuit and things like that, he has better football speed in that regard.
I don't think he's got the range to be a free safety.
No. I wouldn't want him there. Maybe in an emergency.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys have said. One thing you can say is he stayed healthy, and they used him in a lot of positions last year when he was needed, and that versatility is nice for the second-string guys so that they can be plug-and-play when you have something come up. Definitely not a strong enough candidate to have a job.
Listen, I mean, you're right about his health. He's been available basically his entire career. He's not had...
football player, just healthy and
versatile.
plays.
he's one of these guys. He can play corner in a pinch. He started off as a corner. He's played free safety. He's played strong safety. Jay Gruden, if there's anything he loves beyond his family, it's versatile football players. It's like Jay's family, then versatility. Those are the two Jays love in life.
Right.
Maybe a lot of Budweiser, I don't know. But after that. So I think that's why DeShazer's here, because he can do a lot of things. He may not be great at any of them, but he's a good dude to have around because he can play almost anything in a pinch and do it at a competent level.
I mean, look, we've seen plenty of players on this team over the last decades who've made good decade-long careers doing that. One guy who just popped to mind, Lorenzo Alexander, who's now with the Bills. Remember, he played like 8 positions for us at one point. When he was,
yeah, I miss Lorenzo.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Well, that was a Mike Shanahan, I hate special teams players move, remember? That's why. Yeah, but regardless, we've had guys like that. And we had a defensive tackle who stayed here for 10 years. Was it Kedrick Goldston?
Well, he was one of them.
And yeah, but he had like a 10-year career here, always just being like a good backup, played whatever position you needed.
Like that on teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams undervalue those. You need like 4 or 5 of those guys on the roster.
He's not a ball hawk. He's the only has 2 interceptions in his career. I think the Redskins are sort of counting on Landon to be a bit of a ball hawk, given his history, and then he's shown he can do it. Because none of these guys in the safety group really are known as playmakers. Jimmy Moreland is a playmaker. We talked about him last week. At least hopefully. He was in college, so they're hoping for that. Josh Norman needs to get back to being a playmaker. Landon Collins, they want to be a playmaker. The rest of these guys aren't.
By the way, I saw some talk on Twitter about Jimmy Moreland moving to safety. That would be a disaster, right? Like, he's way too small to play free safety.
He just doesn't have the bulk. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's only $180.
He's a $180.
I don't want.
You could maybe put him at free safety, but I mean, look, Jimmy's
in a pinch, but not
been a corner his entire career. You don't take a 7th round rookie who's trying to learn corner and move into free safety on a lark. I don't think.
No, and I don't want a guy who's that sized, short and doesn't have a lot of bulk to him, going up and trying to tackle a free running tight end.
Be a corner,
be Jimmy Moreland. Yeah.
Okay, so next guy up, I think, Sean, are we doing okay on time?
Yeah, we got about 5 more minutes left, and we only have 1 or 2 guys left, right?
Next guy up, Troy Apke.
Oh.
Troy Apke is Mr. Athlete. Ran a 4.340, has a 41-inch vertical, has an athletic family background. His mom and dad were both big-time athletes. He is a stud athlete. Unfortunately, he struggles playing the game of football, perhaps.
Yeah, thank you.
But he's a stud athlete.
Right. Well, we wouldn't know because he has to actually get on the field first.
Yeah, I wasn't too wild.
1 game?
He played 2 games. He played 2 games, has 1 tackle. So that's his NFL. And he got hurt. Yeah. That was the play he got hurt on, by the way, was the tackle. So, 1 play got hurt.
He's great if he doesn't have
They brought him in.
He's great.
Again, like DeShazer Everett, they brought him in to basically just play special teams. And I don't really think you'll ever see him get a lot as playing time at free safety, in my opinion.
He's so small, too.
Happens.
He's another small guy. Another little safety.
He's not as small as you think. He's 6'1".
He's 6 foot.
He's 6'1".
And 200 pounds.
Okay, yeah, he's small. I was thinking, the man's over 6 feet a lot. It's not like he's 5'10", but he's only 200 pounds. So, I mean, he's got the height, but not the bulk, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, we got spoiled so many years ago with guys like Sean Taylor who were like 220, 230 playing safety.
Super athletic.
And you got to remember that those kind of safeties are still rare.
Talent. I mean, Sean Taylor. We can't compare. Right. We've never replaced Sean Taylor because Sean Taylor doesn't come around, but once a generation.
No. I mean, Collins is the closest we've ever come to replacing him.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Taylor was Ed Reed, was Troy Polamalu.
Right.
He was that level.
Exactly.
Ronnie Lott. That was Sean Taylor. And those guys just don't, Troy Apke is much more common than Sean Taylor, Yeah.
Right. So let's not be too hard on the guys who are 6'1", 200 pounds. That's most safeties.
Right. That's most safeties. In terms of Apke, he didn't show anything in preseason. I thought it was a weird pick.
No.
I think
he just runs fast. That's all he does.
He did well on all of the objective measurables. I remember doing his draft write-up and was just amazed at his objective measurables across the spectrum were just incredible. He was like better than Saquon Barkley, but I don't know if he can really play. To be perfectly honest and blunt, sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Apke, I don't know if your son can play the game of football at an NFL level, but he's an athlete, so Alex is right. Put him in special teams, and maybe he'll develop with coaching. That's about the best you can hope for. Maybe a waste of a draft pick.
And I honestly think that's kind of why they brought him in to begin with, was to just be they wanted somebody for that.
So. Realistically, I think so. So that's Apke. Sean, do you have anything else?
Fair enough. Not really. What can you really say?
Yeah.
Are you apathetic?
Hey.
Insert rim shot
I like
here.
that.
Okay. So the last guy is JoJo McIntosh. Undrafted free agent. Rookie. 6'1", 205 pounds.
Not very big, in Sean's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he was...
if we're saying 180, he needs to bulk up. I guess 20 pounds of bulk is a little better, but still. I'd like a really imposing dude out there.
Right, I know, and I get that. But the interesting thing about JoJo McIntosh is I think a lot of mock draft types had him projected more as like a fifth rounder. So, yeah, I think he was our first one we signed after the draft.
Guy that got guaranteed money.
Yeah. And so I actually, in terms of a undrafted free agent signing, I really liked that move because I don't think he's anything spectacular when you watch him. But, overall decent balance as a defensive back. I look at him more of that, fifth guy who might play corner, might play safety.
He's not going to beat out any of these guys we've been talking about. Maybe, I guess, Apke, but Apke is a fourth-round pick. They're probably not going to get rid of him in a year. So JoJo, I think, has to be versatile enough to where he can beat out one of these young corners to make the active roster, or else his fate is going to be practice squad. Because I don't know if the Redskins are going to keep 5 safeties.
Probably not. You might.
They could.
Well, it depends how many defensive backs they want to keep altogether, really.
And figure out. And so if the Redskins keep 6 corners and 5 safeties, that's a lot. They probably keep 10 between the two of them, I would think.
It's usually 9 or 10, right?
JoJo, his fate may reside at the practice squad for a year, and then we'll see what happens, with him going forward, I guess. So,
Right. But I did like that signing. I thought, that's a guy who has upside.
Usually at this point in time we do our predictions for a roster. I think it's, does anybody really have any debate?
No,
not really.
Collins, can't be cut even if they wanted to. Monte Nicholson and Shea Driver are making the team. And so, Troy Apke and JoJo McIntosh, if there's a battle, it's that. But Troy's a 4th-round draft pick. So,
probably has the inside edge. The only advantage, the only thing you never know about is injuries. I think any of them get injured, JoJo's going to just get the spot.
Yeah,
that's
I think his fate's...
And I just like saying JoJo, though. That's my problem.
Yeah, go say the Beatles thing again. Go on.
Get back, JoJo.
I think JoJo's fate is practice squad for 2019.
Yeah.
I'm trying to Google really quick here. Sorry, the sizes of the best safeties in the league. Forgive me while I do this on-the-spot research right now.
Well, look, we have a Pro Bowler on the team, okay? And
you're right.
Yeah.
All pro, and so there's your measurement. And Landon is 6'2", 220. Sean Taylor, who was on a Hall of Fame career path, was about 230 before he lost some weight in his last year.
And he was also 6'3", I think. He was a bigger guy even.
But all of our safeties are between 6 foot and if you average it out mathematically, it'd be about 6'1".
Yeah,
right. It's a very standard corner defensive back size is like 6'1", 200 something pounds, 200 to 208.
I'm less concerned with height and bulk at free safety than I am at strong safety. Because I think
you want you want bulk at strong. And Sean Taylor, let's remember, really was a strong safety, even though they had him playing free.
He had amazing range and speed, so he was better at free safety. He had the
he could, but he did
not
both.
know Sean Taylor. Never seen him play. You look at his size and say strong safety. You just didn't know how great he was.
I think, and in his first 2 years, I think because we had Ryan Clark, they played him more of a box strong safety.
Regardless,
that's my point.
Yeah. I think that's safeties, man. I mean, it's not, not a complicated position group.
Nope. It's, hey, you guys just stand behind Landon Collins and don't let anyone beat you.
Googling?
Yeah, and it's too hard to look at them all. So, I mean, there's too many. And they're relatively... I
didn't know really what you were doing, what you were Googling. Particularly.
Yeah.
Google safeties and see what comes up. That's,
He Googled really big safeties or something.
I was looking at a list of the top people, and it's all around like 200 to 220. So my argument falls apart. I'm an asshole. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I think you guys get my point. A little bit on the bigger side, especially for a strong safety, but either way, it's probably a better thing. Yeah. But hey, it doesn't always work out that way.
Well, I think if the NFL had a bunch of free safeties that were all 220, it would be a very different game.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else about safeties, or should we wrap it up here today?
No, that's about it for safeties.
No, this is a nice safe space right now.
Alex is in a safe space.
Thank God.
I'm getting very punny, so let's finish this thing up.
Get back, Jojo.
All right, well, yeah.
That's very apropos for a safety. Get back, Jojo. Get back. Get back, Jojo. Drop back.
We'll have to, if he makes the team, we'll have to put that on a shirt.
Maybe someone else will buy a shirt if we put that on.
No one's buying shirts.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
Jerks. Even though I make good shirts every once in a while, no one buys them.
It's like we just expect people to find them by osmosis.
This is true. But, Steve, you had a contest for a shirt the other week, didn't you? Did anybody ever respond to that?
No, but somebody did write in and say that their sister was a Kutztown grad, so that was as close as we got. That did not qualify as shirt-worthy because that was not the criteria. The criteria was you need to graduate from...
Tell your sister to write in.
The sister did not write in. But we did get a response, just wasn't worthy of a shirt.
Well, we'll have to think of some more shirt promotions to do in the coming weeks here as we ramp up for the season. It's going to be so exciting.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Well, we will leave it there then. This has been the Hog Sty. Make sure you're coming back to thehogsty.com because we got all kinds of written content, and our multiple shows are rocking and rolling up there on the site. And until next time, we'll see you right back here next week. Take care. Cut.
All right, so here's an idea for a shirt contest that just popped in my... Uh-oh, did we lose Sean?